All right, we are now halfway through the weekend, but I'm afraid the worst is still yet to come as far as the ice is concerned, at least here in central Mississippi. We really haven't had any ice here in the metro. It's just been a cold rain, but that's what we were expecting for Saturday. We thought the freezing line would stay to the north of us. We were just going to get a cold rain all day Saturday, and then we would see the potential for icing first thing in the morning on your Sunday. Everything is playing out the way we thought it would. Unfortunately, if it continues to play out the way we think it's going to, that means significant icing here in the metro through midday tomorrow, and that could extend all the way through southwest Mississippi as well. So here's a look at the storm. The scope of the storm, huge. It stretches from Arizona, New Mexico through Texas and moves across the southeast and into the Midwest. Now, the farther north you go, more cold air, so the rain transitions from freezing rain to sleet and snow. And there's going to be a lot of snow, several inches of it in Oklahoma, the Ozarks of Arkansas, Missouri, and into the Midwest. Unfortunately, we're not going to see any of that. For us, it's going to be the worst kind of winter weather, and that is ice. For Mississippi, it's either going to be rain or freezing rain. The big question is, where is that freezing line going to set up? And today, it has set up to the northwest of us. So again, great for us. Temperatures still in the upper 30s. As long as we're above freezing, we're going to be just fine. The problem is we're not going to stay above freezing once we get into tomorrow. Take a look at our temperatures, 50s in the Pine Belt, 40s down to the south of us, mid to upper 30s in west central Mississippi, but then you get to the Delta, and that's where we're below freezing. So here's a look at Live IMAX 12. You can more easily see that freezing line. There's also some pretty heavy rain down in south Mississippi, and by tomorrow we could actually see a squall line of thunderstorms moving through the southeastern part of the state. We'll talk about that in just a second. First, here's a look at that freezing line. Now, notice where the temperature is freezing. That's in Vicksburg. That's in Yazoo City. And thinking around Chula, it's 29 in Belzona, 35 in Durant. So right around Lexington, Chula is where that 32-degree line should be. So it's along that line and points north where when the rain falls, it freezes on contact. Now that's the pink shading. The cold air is a little bit thicker farther to the north, so when you get into the purple shading, that is sleet. That is when the rain falls, it actually freezes in the air before it hits the ground, and it bounces as an ice pellet. But most of that's been in Arkansas and in the northern part of the Delta. Again, for us, it's either going to be rain or freezing rain. So here's a look at the freezing rain reports we have seen since last night, and they're beginning to add up. To the north of us, especially in the Delta, where we have seen freezing in places like Greenwood since 7 o'clock this morning. But I want you to notice we do have some freezing reports now beginning to get into our area as well. Issaquah County, Sharkey County, and Yazoo County. In fact, this afternoon at about 3:45, icing reported on trees and power lines there. Now, when ice accumulates on power lines, it can get very heavy, and it can weigh down those power lines. It could bring them down. That's when we have power outages. So that's why we don't want too much ice to accumulate on power lines. I'm just afraid that it probably will. Already, we have got power outages in this part of the state. Now, I made a list here. The total over the entire state of Mississippi is over 15,000 customers. But in our area, Sharkey County has 1,105 customers without power. Not a whole lot of people live in Sharkey County, so that's actually 63% of all of the customers in Sharkey County do not have power right now. In Holmes County, it's over 500 customers, that's 11%. Atala County, 485 customers, that's 7%. Humphreys County, 175 customers, that's 7%. And in Yazoo County, 40 customers is 3% of the people there. And it's going to get worse before it gets better. So here's a look at what we're going to see tomorrow. During the overnight, I think we do stay above freezing, so it's still just going to be a cold rain overnight. We get to tomorrow morning, though, at just about sunrise, about 6 a.m., and we drop below freezing to about 30 degrees, and that's all it's going to take. That rain is falling into a shallow layer of cold air at the surface, and where that surface temperature is freezing, it freezes on elevated surfaces. Now, we all know about bridges and overpasses, but this is any elevated surface, like tree limbs and power lines and outdoor staircases, from apartment complexes. They can freeze over too, so you got to be really careful. Just bottom line, going outside and traveling obviously is going to be difficult and not advised in this area until the ice goes away, which may not happen until about Tuesday of next week. So how long are we going to see this icing? We're thinking there's going to be a relatively short window, but it's going to be sunrise to possibly about mid to late morning. I think it's going to be done by lunchtime because the precipitation, the rain, is going to be tapering off from west to east and the temperature actually inching back up above freezing. What would be great is if we stayed at 33 degrees all morning and this is just all rain. But I do believe for at least a while, we're going to be below freezing. We're going to see that icing. Metro and points southwest. Let's say along Interstate 55 and points west is where we're going to see a majority of it. Then after the rain is done, it's just going to be all about cold air. We're going to see our winds howling in from the north, temperatures dropping, and those numbers staying below freezing for a majority of about 3 days. So, ice accumulation. This is the ice accumulation put out from the model that I just showed you. And we get runs of this every several hours, and this is the last run, and it actually came out worse for us. So we'll continue to keep you posted every time we get new information out, but this is the very latest, and any ice is bad. 1/10 of an inch is going to be enough to glaze over those elevated surfaces, but when you start talking about 1/4 of an inch or 1/3 of an inch or 1/2 an inch or more, that's when we get into real problems with the trees falling and the power lines coming down as well. So look at where we are in the metro and points northwest. We're in that 1/3 to 1/2 inch range, which is pretty terrible. Even Myersville, even more than 1/2 inch. Bolton, more than 1/2 inch there. So we'll see how this plays out. We're going to hope for the best, and we just need to prepare for the worst. Now, down to the south, pretty much the same thing, but just in the river counties in southwestern Mississippi. The farther east you go, we're going to see lighter amounts, but again, it only takes about 1/10 of an inch, and that's what we're forecasting here from Bude back over to Brookhaven, or at least this is the model output from this latest run. So, ice storm warning, of course, it's going to be in effect through 6 p.m. Sunday. Really do think most of the active precipitation is going to be done by midday, but the warning until 6 p.m. And they only issue an ice storm warning when there's high confidence that there's going to be at least 1/4 of an inch of ice accumulation. So look at where we have that. We've been saying for several days that it was likely going to be in the Natchez Trace and points north, and it looks like that really is still the case. The Natchez Trace runs from Natchez to Jackson to Kosciuszko. So basically right along that line and points north and west is where we should get the worst of this ice storm through midday Sunday. All right, now let's talk about the other part of this storm, and that's the warm side of the storm, because mid-morning Sunday, when we're seeing the ice over the western part of the state, there's going to be a surge of warm air on the other side, on the eastern side of the front, because winds are going to be coming in from the south. So temperatures could actually be in the 60s and the 70s in the Pine Belt, and at the same time on the other side of the front, we're going to be in the 20s and 30s. So there's going to be a good 40-degree temperature difference on either side of the front. There's obviously going to be a lot of moisture in place, so the ingredients are really there for a good squall line of strong thunderstorms to quickly run through the Pine Belt. Now, could they be severe with some gusty winds? That is possible. So the Storm Prediction Center has issued a level 1 to 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather southeast of Jackson. Now, honestly, I think the worst of this is going to be well to the south of Jackson, likely east of Interstate 59. That's where that level 2 risk is, mostly down around the Gulf Coast, and points east into southwestern Alabama and the Panhandle of Florida. But we can't really rule anything out. We're likely going to get heavy rain. We're likely going to get lightning and thunder. We may get some gusty, potentially damaging winds, but even a tornado cannot be ruled out. The chance of that is extremely low, but it is not zero. I think that would be a little bit higher, a higher chance of that farther east. But again, just bizarre that in the same day, at the same time, there could be a risk of severe weather on one part of the state on one side of the front and an ice storm on the other side of the front on the western part of the state. Now, it's a situation that I actually have seen before, but it is very rare. But here we are. All right, so here's a look at what's going to happen here, and the end of the storm is going to be coming tomorrow, and mid-morning Sunday, 9 a.m., that's when the worst of this is going to happen on either side of the front. You see the line of thunderstorms from Meridian down to Hattiesburg and the Gulf Coast on one side, and then on the back side we've got the icing that goes all the way back to the Mississippi River. Then it dries up pretty quickly, and after this moves through, it's just all going to be about cold air, but it's going to be really cold. This front is going to draw down that Arctic air right into the area. The winds are going to howl in from the north. Skies will clear, yes, we are going to get the sun back, but it's still going to be below freezing all day on your Monday. Check out current temperatures right now. We're at 37 in Jackson. Again, that's good, above freezing, but you go to the west, we're in the low 20s. You go to the north, we're already in the mid to upper teens. Farther to the north, the core of the Arctic air is right here for the plains in the Midwest, where temperatures are in the single digits and below zero. Now, when cold air masses like this move south, they moderate or they warm up as they are moving south. So as this continues to head down to the south, it is going to warm up a little bit, but it's going to head down to the south so quickly it's not going to have a whole lot of time to warm up, and it's still going to be very cold across our area. How cold? 17 degrees Monday with very strong north winds, so wind chills are going to be really low. And then our coldest morning is likely going to be Tuesday morning. Now, we could see 11 degrees in Jackson, but not out of the question that we could actually see single-digit low temperatures over, let's say, the northern third of the state especially. And areas that have snowpack, maybe in Tennessee or Arkansas or extreme north Mississippi, it usually is colder where you have snow on the ground. So that could be a factor as well. And then, even though we warm up later in the week, we're still going to be below freezing in the morning time with temperatures getting well into the 20s. So let's talk about the wind Monday morning. Coming in from the north, I would think about 10, maybe 15 miles per hour. Combine that with a temperature of 17 degrees, and you're going to get wind chills between about 4 in Yazoo City and 13 down around the Pine Belt. So, best advice, if you don't have to get outside, do not do it. Remember, wind chills in the teens, temperatures below freezing all day, and potentially up to a half inch of ice on the ground. Stay home. If you don't have to get out, don't get out. Certainly don't travel. Black ice is dangerous. Just staying home is the best option, I think, for everybody if you can do that, and just stay off the roads and hunker down until all of this is over. Eventually it will go away. All right, here's a look at our impacts, and they are unfortunately moderate to high on all scores. The worst is going to be the cold weather because it's going to stick around for so long, but we're going to see ice build up that can produce travel problems with slick roads, and obviously power outages, because that is already happening, and we know those power outage numbers are going to go way up as we head into tomorrow. And again, the worst of it along and north of the Natchez Trace. So weather alert day on your Sunday because of two reasons. The potential for severe weather in the Pine Belt, but also because of the ice storm over the western part of the state. And then after that, we're looking at freezing numbers all day Monday and most of the day Tuesday. We're going to be starting at 11 degrees. And yeah, we're going to warm up above freezing, but not until about midday, maybe early afternoon. So any ice that's on the ground is not even going to have an opportunity to melt until we get into Tuesday afternoon. And then could it refreeze Tuesday night? Because we're headed down to 21 degrees Wednesday morning. So this is a situation we're going to be dealing with for several days. Overall, it's going to be a very cold week ahead with well below average temperatures. Freezing each morning, your highs on the lower to mid 40s from Tuesday through Friday. And we did have inklings that there might be another winter storm coming for next weekend. The models have backed off on that. I'm still going to put in some cloud cover, maybe a low chance of rain heading into Friday and the weekend. We'll see how all that pans out. Honestly, we got to deal with this one first, and then we'll talk about the potential for what's going to happen next weekend. Hopefully, though, that will be nothing, and it's just going to be cold as we finish out the month of January. All right, so our plan is for tonight and for the rest of the weekend that we are going to be here all night long. I'm spending the night at the TV station. Austin Powell is going to spend the night here as well. Grace is going to be in first thing in the morning. We're going to have a special show from 6 to 7 a.m. on your Sunday, and it's going to be all about the weather and the ice storm that is impending across Mississippi. Until then, through the overnight, we're going to have updates every hour at the top of the hour on air Austin's going to be here doing those overnight, and then I'm going to resume those after that special show tomorrow. Gracie and I will do that together. We do have the AFC Championship game on CBS Sunday afternoon at about 2 o'clock. We are well aware of that, and we do not plan to interrupt that game. Honestly, whatever happens is going to happen before 2 o'clock Sunday. So the active storm is pretty much going to be wrapping up at that time. So we're going to let the game go. We may have an update at halftime. I'm not sure if we'll have an opportunity to do that or not. If we do, we'll probably do a little update at halftime. And then, of course, after the game, we'll have our newscast, and you can bet we'll have extensive coverage of this ice storm on our news tomorrow evening. We should have a newscast at 5:30 and another at 9 o'clock on the CW, and then 10 p.m. our newscast Sunday night on 12 News. We will continue to do hourly cut-ins through the evening Sunday through Monday morning, and if it warrants that after Monday, hopefully it won't, we'll just continue from there on out. So the whole Storm team is here. We got you covered. We're going to keep you updated. You can continue to watch this space for updates. You can watch our social media, not only Facebook, but X and Instagram, and Megan is on TikTok. Look up Megan on TikTok because she's putting out updates there. And, of course, we will continue to keep you posted on every platform that we have, including WJTV Plus. If you haven't already downloaded that to your, I believe, Fire Stick Roku TV, you can get that. It's absolutely free, and we've got hourly updates there as well. All right, that's going to do it for tonight. Meteorologist Austin Powell is going to be here with you for the rest of the overnight. Gracie will be here first thing in the morning. Hope everybody stays safe and is able to stay indoors this weekend. I'll be talking to you again soon.